Hello, hello. Welcome back. Nicole Holland here. Super excited to have you joining us today. It's my pleasure to introduce you to a young man who has created a software. And I don't believe this is his first one, but I came across it and thought this was really useful and really interesting. And I was playing around with it, and it's fun too. It's got a really neat energy to it. And so I wanted to bring him on here to talk with us about what it is and how we can use it to improve our business and engage our clients more and get more real feedback. And so I will introduce him now. So I'm going to do my best with the name. So Baptiste Debever is a young French entrepreneur and co-founder of Feedier, which he launched and grew to over 3,000 users with zero outside investment in less than 6 months. A web developer turned growth marketer, Baptiste is on a mission to help companies understand their customers, which is evident in his new venture, Feedier. He has a passion for making easy-to-use and user-centric products through Feedier. He has a passion for making easy-to-use and user-centric products, and through Feedier, Baptiste is making user feedback more accessible, more enjoyable, and completely gamified. Welcome, Baptiste.
Hey, Nicole, thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Well, I'm excited to have you. And so let's start out with answering the question first off, a little bit more specifically, who is the business owner that's going to benefit the most from a solution such as Feedier?
Sure. So Feedier is targeted at software enterprise. So whether it's the product teams or the customer success team or even the marketing team who just want to, get a better understanding of their customers, create better relations with them, and just understand them better and get better customer feedback with them. But we also have customers in the e-commerce field and in the more kind of coaching side of thing where you just want to collect feedback after an order or after something is done in order to understand how you could be better. If that makes
Awesome.
sense.
Yeah. So how did you first come up with the recognition that there was a need for this?
Sure. So we started our entrepreneurial journey selling WordPress solutions and WordPress themes. And so we were selling on, for anyone who is familiar with the model, was selling on TeamForest. So the business model is you selling one-off license, meaning you don't hear from your clients. So it's very hard to get an understanding of who is your customer, who is your client, and why is he buying your product? What is his job to be done? And we even though we're sending out surveys, sending out emails, whatever we could be doing, we couldn't get a proper understanding. Besides this, we also need a lot of reviews because this kind of business model is based on just on reviews. And so we basically needed a way to both collect feedback for us to improve the product, but also improve the social proof with testimonials and whatever reviews and whatever. So we just looked for a tool to, I don't know, make the experience better, kind of, delight them. Couldn't find it. So yeah, we were, here we are.
That's fantastic. And you say who else is involved, may I ask?
Yeah, sure. So we a team of two co-founders, myself and Francois, and we also working with developers, and we have another developer, someone helping out in the customer success, customer support, and we in the process of hiring a marketer as well.
Fabulous. And for folks who are listening to us on the podcast, you can definitely hop on over to the show notes page for our video if you'd like, or check this out, of course, on YouTube or Facebook. But if you are watching, you probably are thinking the same thing I was thinking when I first came across Baptiste, after I was already aware of and playing with the software. But then I looked him up and I'm like, oh my gosh, how old is he? So, you just turned 22 at time of recording, yeah?
Yeah.
Amazing. Right. I just find that super fascinating. Number one, I just really want to, I know it doesn't seem like a big deal to you, but I think it's a really big deal when anybody goes after their dreams and is able to build a company and create solutions that help the world. And to see that you've done this at such a young age is really inspiring. And I just want to give you lots of props for that.
Thanks.
Yeah, for sure. So one of the things that that strikes me about Feedier is, and I'm thinking this comes from the innovation of youth, perhaps, or maybe it's just, I don't know. I don't feel inspired when I get surveys, right? Who does? We get these surveys from companies asking, how was your experience? And these very boring questions and this very boring format that's like, so I have to take, 5 minutes out of my day to go answer your questions for what? And one of the things that a bunch of things I love with Feedier is, number one, it's fun. It's not that boring, like this boring set survey. It's like you use gamification with that, and you also embed the ability for business owners to reward people with real stuff for taking their surveys.
Yeah, exactly.
So can you talk a little bit about that, if you want to talk about why that works? And actually, sorry, let me back up to a question I had that I didn't ask before. Do you know the typical conversion rate when people send out a survey or an email asking for feedback versus what is happening now when they use your software?
Yeah, I don't have any really specific answer because measuring the survey response rate is really hard. It depends on the industry, it depends on the use case, it depends on how you actually request the feedback. If you do more kind of push requests, like by email, SMS, whatever, or if you just, it comes in using, for instance, a widget on website. So it really depends on the industry, but I think overall it's well below 5%, and which is bad, I think. And with Feedier, we're aiming at least 20, on even above, because it's kind of twofold. First, we do have the software, which is very innovative. As you mentioned, we're really focusing on the end user, and we have all of the stuff we're going to discuss after. But on the other side, we're also really willing to, help people get better at customer feedback. So making sure they create the right surveys, they ask the right questions, and they don't mess up, basically. Does that make sense?
It does. So that's built in for the business owner who wants to collect the information to help them ask the right questions and in the right format?
Yeah.
Great. And this is with Feedier, you can send out surveys as emails and also as a widget to put it on your site?
Yeah, so we have different what we call sharing method, so basically ways of collecting feedback. So you can send out emails, you can also send out as text message requests. You can also use our API or just the Zapier integration in order to make things like, to plug different tools together, or even to, let's say you're running an e-commerce business, you might want to use the Shopify trigger when there is a new order, and you send out a request to Feedier, and you ask Feedier to send a feedback request, basically. And so this is one way of doing it. So this is more like the push side of thing. And then on the pull side of thing, you have the widget, which is completely responsive if it's any website, web application. Then we also have an email widget, which is at the time of the episode still in development, but it will be live. Well, it should be live next week. Then we also have just a standard kind of QR code or any of those things. So yeah, it's very you have basically plenty of way to collect feedback. You can also just grab the link of your survey and share it wherever you feel like it.
Awesome. And do you have any use cases that you can share where you've had customers who've seen like massive results with this, something unexpected that surprised you guys, or anything that you can share about? Because I think it's hard to conceptualize if you've never experienced some like massive amount of feedback that's been a big win, what that could be like. So if there's anything you want to share on that, that'd be awesome. And then afterwards, if you're good with it, we'll start into a demo so that folks can actually see what we're talking about here. So they'll just have to come over to the Nicole Holland Show and check out the video. Again, it's on YouTube and Facebook as well. But do you have any things you can share about some surprising or exciting case studies?
Sure. So we have a bunch of case study, which are, by the way, available on our website. And one of them, which is very interesting, is Society Sock, I believe you pronounce like it, which is basically an e-commerce website selling socks with and they do basically when you buy a new pair of sock, they give the other one to a charity. So you buy one and you give one to charity, which is a very interesting concept. And they wanted to collect feedback from their customers, to engage who the customer were and why they were buying, if they were buying just for the socks, if they were buying, for the charity thing as well, or why they were doing this kind of thing. Couldn't get their head around it, and then they started using Feedier, and they told me about 200 increase in the response rate. So basically they got way more answer than
200%.
Yeah, increase.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was crazy for them, and I believe it's only starting, but a very interesting use case. And we also have folks using Feedier just to for the engagement side of thing, where basically at the end of the survey you can request testimonials or reviews. In other words, increase your social proof based on the satisfaction of your customer. And so we have hotel. So it's called Saria Hotels, and so it's made of 12 hotels in the UK. And so whenever there is someone checking out, they send out an email. Thank you for staying at the hotel. What do you think? Blah blah blah. And if the customer is happy, they request review on, I think it's TripAdvisor, and they're getting a very interesting response as well. So very happy with that. And before they couldn't get any review, so yeah, very
fantastic.
So, yeah.
And before we jump into the demo, what do you think that these successful situations stem from, and how is it inspiring you and your development team in moving forward with the product?
Sorry, can you rephrase the question?
Sure. So when you get this kind of feedback, because you guys are getting feedback on your feedback solution,
yes.
Are you finding things that surprise you, like that you weren't expecting? And whether or not that's a yes, how is the feedback you're receiving from the users of your product? How is that helping you, or is it helping you to decide what's next for the solution?
Sure. So we have, because we still a new product, so we try to even though we try to scale the process, we are still very conversational, and we try to we use intercom, the chats on our website, so we chat a lot with our customers. So which is one way of collecting feedback first, but another way by using Feedier, of course. And the data we're getting is very useful for us to, when it comes to prioritizing which features to ship next, or or for instance, if we know we need to improve a specific features, but we're not sure which way to go, which route to take, it's very useful for us as well to just to own in the roadmap, basically.
Excellent. All right. So are you ready? Do you want to take us behind the scenes so we can actually see how this looks and operates and all that good stuff?
Sure. Yeah, I'm just sharing my screen now. You should see it.
Mm-hmm.
Can you? Can you see the dashboard now?
Yes.
Cool. Yeah, so I'm currently logged into the dashboard, and so when you log in, you see this page here with a list. Well, even though by the time you will log in, it might be changed and improved, but the concept will still be the same. So the idea is we define a survey, a feedback program, a form, whatever, as a carrier, which is our way of defining surveys, because we do it differently, we do it uniquely. So we came up with our own name. So here I'm inside one of them. If I want to edit, I could first take care of all of the branding, or even take care of, the names, the descriptions, this kind of thing, which is done from here, the setting page. So I can change the language, I can add an introduction, a footer or not, and I can also go into the branding, so change the logo. I can even add a cover if I want. I can upload or use one of the built-in cover. Then one thing I can also do is go into more kind of the nitty-gritty, and for instance, I could use my Google Tag Manager if I want, and pass it along, so I can add more advanced script like Facebook Pixel or this kind of thing inside my carrier, which is it's more kind of advanced settings. Regarding to the actual surveys, so carriers, we define them into 3 steps. So the first step are the ratings. So the ratings is just metrics or quantitative questions, aiming at getting a grasp or gauging who is the customer, how happy he is, how satisfied he or she is, and in order to ask him more relevant questions down the line. So we could, here we have a demo of Feedier, and some kind of ratings could be, does Feedier meet your needs? Can you rate the quality of the product? Can you rate the responsiveness to your questions or concerns? And so I can add a new one if I want. I can even edit the existing ones, order, whatever. And if I preview, it would look like this. How would you write the following? And Feedier meet your needs, and you can see, it's very kind of funny way of answering the questions. And at the end of this step 1, satisfaction, my customer, if I answer, let's say 4 and 5 here, I'm going to end up with 4.5 as a satisfaction ratio if we just average out. Meaning, if we do the math on as a percentage, it amounts for 90% of satisfaction ratio. And then I can go to step 2, which are the questions, and segment out based on the satisfaction ratio. It's completely optional, by the way. So if you only want to ask questions or to ask ratings, or if you just want to ask both but you don't want to segment out, it's your call. You can do it as well. So like, as you can see here, this question, what brought you to Feedier? It's a question type choices, and so I have a few choices I'm going to show you. And this question is asked to everybody, no matter the satisfaction ratio, because it's between 0 and 100. So I can edit the question, I can edit the description, and I can segment here with the satisfaction ratio. And given that it's a question type choices, I have my choices here. We also have our kind of segmenting we have two ways of doing segmentations. So we have the satisfaction ratio, but you can also just use condition based on the answer to the previous question. So let's say, well, for this one, it doesn't make much sense because I'm on the first question, but I can, just take, for instance, I can take this question and select the option. So I can, segment based on the answer to the previous question.
Also, can I ask you something while we're still on this screen? This is wonderful to actually see this in action. But
Sure.
if you scroll up, you had so max 45% on why are you somewhat dissatisfied. So I'm assuming then this means that if they have 45% or less of a positive answer, then they'll get that question. But if it's more than 45, they'll never see that.
Exactly. Yeah. This question was completely segmented. Or well, another way of doing it, we could, for instance, imagine that we want to fine tune our, our communication, and we want to, we're working on a new tagline for the product, and we could, for instance, ask the customer, the most satisfied customers, to give us some kind of suggestion for the tagline, which we wouldn't do if the customer was not satisfied.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So, and actually, before you head on, what you just said, I've never even thought to, send out a survey to the people that love me the most and say, what do you think about this? I tend to use social media quite a bit, but that just, for me, triggered some ideas. And I'm guessing that those kinds of things can trigger some ideas for my listeners as well. Can you just run down a few different, a few more things of the different ways that you could potentially use this to get information to help you make it easier to improve a product or a service or rebranding or whatever you're doing?
Sure. Another way of doing it would be to use the images here, and to put some kind of, for instance, if you're working on the branding, you could have two different versions of the logo, and you could use different logos based on the satisfaction ratio, because people satisfied don't have the same image, don't have the same kind of, they don't think the same way about your brand as the one who are completely satisfied. So it might make sense to segment out based on that as well, which would be very helpful for the rebranding, as you mentioned.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Cool. Let's keep going. Just one last thing regarding the questions. As you can see here, we have a bunch of question types. So you can just use a slider, some kind of NPS, and I believe we will have more by the time it's out. So yeah, it's a very flexible product. That's my point. Then the last step is the reward. So the reward is also optional. It's a way to add some kind of win-win situation, to create a win-win situation, to basically show your customers that you value his voice, that you really want, that you're really putting forward his voice, and you really want to thank him for his time. So we could imagine, for instance, let's say we're running an e-commerce business again. We could use vouchers, and so we would upload a list of vouchers, or we would just use one single voucher, like, I don't know, feedback campaign 2018. And then when the customer gives the feedback, we would give him this voucher, and as a way to say thank you, and also as a way to boost loyalty, because it's still great to get the customer back. So you can, let's say I'm using, let's use the voucher. I can give it a name. So I don't know, like 5% next order. I can give it a description. So thank you, thanks. You will receive the voucher by email. and we can define how many vouchers we want to give away. Let's say only 100, for instance, and I can also add an additional layer of gamification side of thing. Like I could say only half of the respondents will get this reward, meaning in my communication I won't say, hey, we're looking for your feedback, on exchange we're going to give you that. We're just saying, hey, we putting together, we want to hear from you, and who knows, you might get a nice voucher or something along those lines, which is also very helpful to avoid any kind of biased answer.
So it's sort of like you can, and with that 50%, so you could do any kind of percent. So for example, there's a shoe store that I've seen where when you walk in, they have a big spinning wheel, and you can spin the wheel and see what percentage or what coupon, or you're gonna win something off of your order. So is it sort of like that? So that an e-commerce business could say, okay, we're going to give away 10, 50% off vouchers, and so many 20%, and so many 10 and 5, and so on. Is it
Exactly.
sort of like that? So it's randomized that they
Yeah,
will win?
it's completely randomized. So you can add up different rewards. Does that make sense?
Yeah, cool.
And you can also, I don't know, if you're running a software business or even coaching business, you might want to just use this kind of reward, which is called downloadable, and it's just a file. So you could use it as a way to give value, like an ebook or some kind of guide for your software, for your niche, for your industry. And as long as it's useful, your customer would just be delighted.
Yeah. And even I think for like if you're doing a book launch or something and you want to get um, the reviews, and the people get it on Kindle, and if they um, write you a review and share it or whatever, then perhaps they get the audio book for free or some special bonus, you're saying. Yeah,
Yeah,
very
exactly.
cool.
So then what we also offer is an engagement system, which is a way for you to, at the end of the survey, so once the customer received the reward, he gave his email address so we can send him the reward, or we can also pass the email address along if we already have it. And so the engagement is a way after that to just go further and ask the customer to take further action based on his satisfaction ratio. For instance, I could imagine requesting reviews or what we call 5-star rating engagement to the most satisfied customers, and I'm going to ask them to leave me a review on, let's say, my Facebook page, because I care about my branding on my Facebook page and I want to get reviews. So I'm going to ask a reviews on the Facebook page, meaning at the end of the survey, the customer would see this review request, and hopefully it is going to leave me a review. And if he does not, we're tracking the click. If he does not, we're going to send him a follow-up kind of message a few days after, saying, hey, thank you for feedback again. You might want to leave us a review, blah, blah, blah. Does that make sense?
It does
So
make sense. And so with that, could you even further incentivize it? Like, does your software track that to where if they don't review right away, then you send them that email and say, and then, we'll send you this reward for doing that, and then it gets the reward? Or is that?
no, for the moment, we try to avoid any kind of biased reward. So if you decide to give away rewards, it will go out based just on some kind of randomness on the probability
Got
you
it.
set. But we want, for the moment, at least for the moment, we really want to avoid giving away rewards based on if you clicked or not.
Got it. Okay. But you can do like 100% of people who leave a review get an additional reward, or no?
Um, no, for the moment, it's not possible, but it's something we could consider. So, if that makes sense, we could definitely consider.
Yeah,
But
I mean,
yeah, so
so
some also one thing, some platforms like just I think just Pirate is doing it. I'm not sure. Some platforms are basically kicking out any kind of bad reviews. So if you say your customers you give your a review and we give you feedback, we give you a reward, sorry, or we give you an incentive, um, and if they find out about that platform, they're
mm,
going to kick you out.
that makes
So
sense.
yeah, we try to avoid that.
That makes a lot of sense.
Cool. So yeah, I'm all set regarding the actual configuration. Then it's just all about actually sharing the feedback and getting the feedbacks in. So I could just grab the link. I could also use social media integrations just to share. I could upload emails, SMS, use a widget, use another kind of widget I can create, or I could also embed the actual surveys on my website. So yeah, different way of doing it, and it's really up to like what kind of audience you're looking at.
Amazing. Thank you for this. This was awesome. And again, if anybody is listening and you've been driving, I know you want to hop on over here and see how gorgeous this user interface is. One of the things that I think throws a lot of folks off when they're trying to decide on solutions is it things seem a little bit complicated. And Baptiste, I love how you guys have this laid out. It is so clear and simple and easy to navigate. So thank you for this experience.
Thank you. Yeah, no worries. Thank you. I really appreciate it. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer as well and to help out.
For sure. So yeah, I guess at this point, is there anything that you haven't shared about Feedier that you think would be useful for people to know?
Um, no, I mean, I went through pretty much all the configuring side of thing, and obviously we also have our reporting dashboard, and we've also added a bunch of additional kind of way of doing reporting. So you could use filters on dynamic filters, but I won't get into that today because yeah, really want to focus on what's important. But what I wanted to point out though is we're really willing to help out and to help you to help companies collect better feedback. So if you have any question, don't hesitate to reach out, and we'll be more than happy to help out.
Fantastic. And guys, you can get more information about Feedier and all of the details, and again, see the demo on the Nicole Holland Show. So just come on over and check it out. And Baptiste, do you want to stop sharing your screen? It's just I was going to look up a note, and thank you. Sort of took over there. Gosh, I love Zoom so much, but that's one thing where I'm like, wait a minute, my screen. And so I believe you have something special as well for my listeners. Is that correct?
Yeah, I put together a voucher, so I think you can just share it in the show notes, and people can redeem in the dashboard, and they will get I think it's 3 months for free. So really looking forward to it.
Amazing. That's so super generous and very exciting. And yeah, I hope everybody will take this for a spin because it is so important, and it's challenging oftentimes to get people to give you real information and feedback. And I love what you guys have put together with Feedier. Very again innovative, very interesting, very fun. And I love knowing also that you guys are still, feet on the ground and interacting with your customers and looking to make it better with the roadmap. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Really, really great.